Hey everybody!
Hey everybody!
Welcome back to the homestead.
How are you all doing? We have seen a lot of you here early, and we're so happy that you guys come early to check us out.
It doesn't tell us on our end how many people are here early, but it looks like we've got about 200 people watching already now that we're live. So thank you. Actually, 245 already. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight.
It has been crazy weather here. I want to talk with you about the weather.
Yeah, we've had a couple days now, like 23, I think, was the coldest that we saw one morning, that it dipped down only for like an hour. It was like 25, 26 when we got up. But, right before the sun comes up, it always gets this tad bit colder, 23 degrees. But now this week, they're predicting our highs to be back like 84, 85 degrees. Yep. It's just crazy.
Yep. I wish it would just be one or the other. I'm actually really excited for it to cool down. I'm done with all of the heat. And all the plants look terrible. The grass looks terrible, not only because it's been cold, but it's just been so dry.
We haven't had rain in months.
Yeah,
it's been crazy as far as rain goes.
Yeah, but we are excited for it to cool down. I am anyway. I'm not sure if you are.
I hope we have a nice long fall. I'm ready for it not to be 90 or, above. Mid 70s for like the next 2 months would be perfect, because that way we can get a lot of outside stuff done that we haven't had time to get done during the hot part of the year. The hard part here in Missouri is during that hot part of the year, it's not just that it's hot and humid, but like so much of what we have to do is in the woods or in like long grass, and with the chiggers and ticks that we have here, you really have to wait until we get some cold weather before a lot of that stuff can get done. And we've got some pretty big projects that we want to get done. We've got some clearing to do and some other things, and I think we'll bring you guys along for some of that. In that area where you see us go foraging, where we kind of go down, there's like a windy road that goes down to the bottom part of our property. We've just got trees and stuff growing up in there, and we need to figure out how to get our wood chipper down there because I don't have one for the tractor. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Once we get it down there, we may never get it back up.
Well, I don't know.
That's okay.
Hopefully it doesn't just roll down the hill.
Right.
And get wrecked.
Yeah.
So today we just want to thank very much the people that are helping us, Rich and Shelly from Air to Ground Farms and Air to Ground Meats. They are helping us again today.
Right.
So you'll see both of them in the comment section. Possibly they are not only going to help kind of facilitate the back end stuff that we do here, but they're also going to be moderating.
Right.
And our son-in-law Gavin is going to be helping us again today also.
And today is Gavin's birthday, so everybody wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Gavin. We were able to have family dinner together last night after church, and we celebrated as a family his birthday. And I think he has some extra family things going on this week also to celebrate his birthday. So he is our favorite son-in-law.
That's right.
So
if you guys are ever going to be in the Ava area, which is where we live, Ava, Missouri, if you're going to be in the area and you are looking for, first of all, some very good farm fresh meat, we recommend that you check out Rich and Shelly's store that they just opened in town called Air to Ground Meats. Their farm is called Air to Ground Farms because Rich was a fighter pilot, and so they have now opened Air to Ground Meats, where they sell their farm fresh meats right there in their store, and it's amazing, you guys.
There's their store.
That's their store.
That's their store, right by the square in Ava. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then if you're going to be in the area and you're in the area looking for land, our son-in-law Gavin is a realtor, so check out Gavin as well at Action Realty in Ava. So thank you guys for helping us, and we're gonna move on to, I think, kind of the topic of discussion for today, right?
No, we have some stories first.
Oh, that's right.
So something
a crazy story.
Something pretty interesting happened. It started one evening, late last week. Kevin went out to do evening chores. I was in the house doing other things at the time.
So I went out and I went out to lock up the ducks and the geese, and everybody runs into their house. And then
In Wattlesville.
in Wattlesville, and I noticed that there were 2 geese that had gotten over the fence, which really that barely ever happens. And so I chased them back in. I opened the gate and I chased them back in, and then I realized that when I put them away, that there were actually 2 geese completely gone. There were only 6 geese that went in the house, and there should be 8. So
you called me out.
So I called Sarah and I'm like, let's go look, but it was already pitch black out. So we went with our flashlights and we went looking all around and we couldn't find them. So after like an hour, we're like, we're just gonna have to wait till tomorrow, and hopefully they found a good, safe place to sleep overnight. And tomorrow morning they'll just come back when we feed everybody.
Right, because they don't like being away from each other.
Right.
When they accidentally get out, they spend the rest of the day like pacing back and forth in front of the fencing, trying to get back in.
Right.
So
they're smart enough to fly out, but they're never smart enough to fly back in.
I think when they fly out, it's an accident, and then they're like, now what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So the next morning comes and we go out to let everybody out, and still no geese. So we're still missing 2 big geese at that point. And so we decide that we're going to go searching everywhere for these geese.
Because we have 4 ponds on our place. Now, some of them are pretty small, but we have 1 decent sized pond and then 3 other smaller ponds. And we're like, well, maybe they got out and then they saw one of the ponds and they decided just to live there from now on. So we drove around, we checked all the different ponds.
All through the hayfield.
All through the hayfield. We like zigzagged just in case they were hiding somewhere. Nothing. We couldn't find them anywhere.
And we even went like way down in the lower land area, because we thought, well, like if a coyote was chasing them, we know that they'd fly and then land, and then if they got spooked again, they'd fly and then land. So God only knows how long of distance they were going.
Right, because we've never seen them do anything other than like
jump fly.
Like fly maybe like 50 feet and then land, and then fly like 50 feet and then land. So we assumed that that's about all they were capable of doing.
Right. So we looked everywhere and we still didn't find them. So we decided that morning that, okay, well, we're just going to do chores as normal.
Because we had spent over an hour looking again in the morning.
Right. Yeah. So Kevin was over by the greenhouse and I was letting the birds out of Wattlesville. And all of a sudden, Kevin yells to me, look!
And there is a goose like way up in the air, like above the house. I have no idea where it came from, but all of a sudden this goose is like flying like above the house, and it just like perfect land right into Wattlesville, right next to the feeder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I had no idea that these geese could fly like that.
No.
So that one came back, and so we rounded everybody else up, and we got them back into their house, and we clipped everybody's wings so that they couldn't fly anymore. But we never did find that other one for the whole rest of that day.
And the geese themselves were like looking around.
Right.
They were calling and they were like looking around trying to find that last goose.
Right.
And
he never came back for that entire day.
No.
And then lo and behold, the next morning I was out near our hay barn and I'm like, I think I hear a goose.
Right.
And right there behind the hay barn is this goose just standing there looking at me like, well, I'm right here. What are you looking for? And so I started to walk up to him and he jumps straight up in the air and just like flies all the way back to Wattlesville. And he's been in there ever since with everybody else.
Yeah. He just like flew really high in the air, just like one of the Canada geese that fly,
Right.
And hasn't left since.
No, and in fact, we never even did catch him to clip his wing.
No.
But he stayed. He's right there with everybody else.
It is so weird that these geese, now knowing that they can fly as tall as our house, way over our orchard area, they don't try to get out unless, I don't know why they got out.
I don't know either. My guess is something scared them initially and they like accidentally got over the fence. I don't know.
So luckily they have all returned, because the 2 that luckily
for us, not necessarily for the geese.
Well, either way.
because we're going to process
Yeah,
it later.
either
this
way,
week.
you know, they'll be our food and not like a coyote's food.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But initially, we were worried that that some of them that got out were breeders.
Right.
Because you can't tell male from female on these geese. We have them banded. So all of our breeders are banded. So we were worried that some of them that were gone were going to be our breeders. And then we wouldn't know, like, are they males or females that we have left? Because we only have 1 male and 3 females. So we were worried. But then on the other hand, we were also worried in general because we've been raising these geese all summer for food.
Right.
And then they were going to be gone. Half of our, food, goose food was going to be gone.
Right.
So, but they came back.
They came back.
And we're super happy about that.
So that's our goose story.
That's our goose story.
And it was quite, it was pretty crazy.
So strange.
Yeah.
It was so strange. But we also have super good news for this coming week, actually in 2 days.
Right. Day after tomorrow is when we are officially getting our fiber internet installed here. Which, if you would know all of the different types of internet we have had in the last 8 years since we moved out here.
I think it's been 5. I think this might be number 6.
Well, before we left Phoenix and moved out here, we were told that we could get DSL. And then when we actually got here, we called the phone company and they said, oh, no, the phone lines in your area are no good and we can't even do DSL. So we were like, okay.
We would have even been on a waiting list to like get a phone number.
Right.
That's how little bandwidth they had left on the phone line.
Right. So then we ended up just doing a hotspot with our cell phones. But that, when you're trying to do any amount of data, that was terrible because we were trying to start YouTube and we just couldn't do that with only our cell phones. Then we switched to HughesNet, which was terrible. It would take us if we uploaded a YouTube video from home, and back in those days our videos were only like 7 minutes long, and it would take us 12 to 18 hours to upload a video.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the days when I actually used to drive to Walmart every single day because we were doing 5 videos a week. So I would drive to Walmart 5 days a week to upload our videos from Walmart so that I could use their internet.
Yeah. And you'd walk around because sometimes it would still take over an hour or two.
Right.
Poor guy in Walmart.
And the secret shopper guy that works at Walmart, he would follow me around because he was wondering why I was there every night.
Right. For hours, not buying a single thing. So we didn't need anything.
Then after that, we got like a local, I don't know what it's called. It's like a peer-to-peer kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We tried that. That was a little bit better than HughesNet, but not much better. Then we switched. Then finally after that, we switched to Starlink.
Okay.
And I think so, yes. Then we switched to Starlink. No. Then we went to that Nomad internet, which
it was only slightly better.
Yeah. And then we went to Starlink.
Which
we've had Starlink for about 3 years, and it's actually pretty good. It's what we're using right now to stream. Yeah. So, but then day after tomorrow, we're getting the fiber internet. And Rich and Shelly actually got their fiber internet installed last week. And Rich told me he uploaded a 34-minute 4K video in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, 9 minutes.
So
that's exciting.
So we're going to go from an 18-hour upload to less than 10-minute upload, which
over the course of 8 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is like we are finally going to be, living in modern times.
The thing is, we have that good of internet in the Phoenix area where our videos would have uploaded in no time at all.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
It just took a long time for it to catch up out here, which, it's a trade-off when you move to the country. It's, part of why you leave the city, right, is you want to be able to kind of go back in time. But sometimes it's a little frustrating.
Right.
It's like you got to balance this living in the past and living, in modern times. So
the possibilities are endless now.
Right.
What we can do.
Right. We can definitely, starting next week, we can live stream in a higher, in better quality. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that will look a lot better next week.
Yeah. So that's fun.
All right. So we're going to move on to today's discussion or topic.
Yeah. See, here's the deal. Later this week, our project is going to be processing all of the birds that we need to process. So the American breast chickens that we raised for meat this year, the geese, which are American buff.
Right.
That's what they're called.
Mhm.
We have some old silkies that we're going to process. We have too many ducks. So we're going to process some of them.
Some old ones.
Some older ones. So we have a lot of that to do. So in the spirit of processing season, we thought we would have a discussion, or more like a Q&A type of discussion, specifically about raising animals for meat.
Correct.
So if you have any questions about any types of animals, whether we have raised them or not, about raising them for meat, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Right. If we don't know the answer, we'll let you know. But if it's something that we've raised, we'll tell you everything we know about those animals.
Right. And so we're going to do that for about half of the time that we have left, maybe, 20 minutes of this. And then we'll switch to just our general Q&A because we absolutely love it. And we think you guys love that kind of communication with us as well. So
yeah, it keeps us on our toes, trying to make sure we know all these answers.
Yeah. So topic of the week, like I said, raising animals for meat. And what questions do you have about raising animals for meat? And I just want to quickly say, to help us out and to help Rich and Shelley identify the questions to give to us, if you'll start your question with the word question, it will be really a lot easier for them to get those questions to us.
Right.
So if you do that, that would be great.
And if it's specifically for one of us or the other, make sure you put that in there too if you can.
But for sure, the word question.
Right.
Okay. So, sorry, let's get back up to here where we need to be. Let's start here.
All right. First question. Hello, Kevin and Sarah. I'm interested in raising quail and rabbits for my own meat. Which ones of each give you the most bang for your buck? I think they're asking rabbits or quail.
I think so. That's how I took it.
I think rabbits give you your best. Rabbits are more prolific. They're more hardy, and you're gonna, I think, in general, end up with more meat raising rabbits than you would with quail.
And I think overall too, rabbits will consume less feed from the feed store because your litters you can raise on the ground. And I truly believe that when you raise them on the ground with grass and you move them every single day, that will decrease your feed by 50% in your litters.
And I think it's like everything. They're eating a more natural diet. So then I think they taste better. And I think they're all in all healthier.
Right. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. I haven't had luck with ducks or geese staying alive. Any advice? Why don't you talk about feed? Because they have different feed requirements.
True.
Especially when they're young.
When they're young, they have different feed requirements. And that if you're losing them when they're young, that could definitely be the issue. So when they're young, you need to give them a higher protein feed. You actually need to kind of step down. So you start on like a 22% feed, but only for like 2 weeks. And then you're going to want to drop them down to like an 18% feed. But you also want to make sure that it's either a specific waterfowl feed that has extra niacin in it. And if you can't find a waterfowl feed, then you need to provide niacin either in their water or in some other form. You can use regular niacin capsules that you buy, but you want to make sure they are not the flush-free variety. You want the ones, if they're flush-free, they'll go through their system too fast and they won't absorb it. So you need to get the regular ones that don't say flush-free on them. And you can put one capsule in 5 gallons of water and give that to them every day. And that will help them develop appropriately. If you keep their protein too high while they're young, they will develop a condition called angel wing, where their wings will stick straight out. Sometimes that can be corrected, but a lot of times they'll have permanent deformities from that. And if you keep their protein too low, they can have trouble walking. So it is kind of a balance. But once they get to about 10 to 12 weeks old, you can pretty much stop the niacin. And at that point, like, we just feed them standard chicken layer feed at that point.
Yep.
So they eat the same thing that all of our chickens eat.
The other thing is they can't have medicated chick starter or medicated starter.
They should not. Although there's some mixed feelings about that with the newer varieties of medicated stuff. But
Okay.
in general, if you can get it without medication, that's better for waterfowl.
This is a question that we will answer by not answering that question. This is one of these things that we just feel we need to keep private.
Right.
So we appreciate your question of how many freezers do we have, but that is one thing that we won't address specifically. Next here, on your meat rabbits, do you
meat birds.
I'm sorry, meat birds. Do you harvest by weight or age?
We go by age.
Mm-hmm.
Like the American breasts, we do right around 16 weeks. Ours are actually going to go this week, and they might be 17 weeks, but no, we always go by age. The exception with that, I think, is with the Cornish cross.
Right.
If they're at like 6 or 7 weeks and they're looking really big,
or if they're struggling,
or if they're then we will weigh a couple, and if they're up to weight, we'll butcher them early. But otherwise, we try to do them between 7 and 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
are rabbits disease prone? I say no. We've had very little, if any, disease issues with our rabbits. We talked last live about potential parasites, which we've had very little problem with. As long as we are moving them in the tractor and keeping them in a clean living environment, we don't have a problem with like coccidiosis. And we just have never had problems. Although I will add that we've never raised them in a colony situation.
Right.
That is not something that I recommend at all. Some people do it, and for a long time they get away with it. But I will never raise them in a colony because it is too easy for them to get coccidia or coccidiosis and transmit other things with them. And it's just harder to keep them clean and keep them from inbreeding and that kind of thing.
Right.
So
I think it works for a while, and depending on your environment, if you're in a really dry environment, you might be able to get away with it longer.
Yes.
But here, where it's so wet most of the year, you're just asking for parasite problems.
Right. Yep. Here we go here. What do you use for removing feathers?
We have a plucker. The one we have we've had it for a
long time,
over 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's from a company called CC Only, I think is what it's called. It's worked really well. We haven't had to do any fixing on it, really.
Yeah, no. We use that for chickens.
Right.
Generally, the turkeys that we raise are too big to put in there. And ducks and geese are really, all waterfowl are a real pain in the butt to.
Right. So we skin those.
Yeah, we do.
Right. And we've tried with ducks and geese. We have tried. Well, we've never done geese before. Honestly, this will be the first time doing geese. But with ducks, we've done a lot of ducks, and we've tried everything. We've tried the plucker. We've tried hand plucking them. We've tried the duck wax, where you like dip them in wax and peel that off. It takes forever.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's just not worth it. So because we have, and I know the duck fat is really, really good.
Yes, and I think the goose fat is the same.
I think so too. But because we already have so many other forms of fat, we have our own lard, we have tallow. We just have decided that skinning those saves so much time, and so that's what we always do.
Right. At one point, when we were still living in the Phoenix area, we loved raising meat ducks so much that we considered having that be a business for us to raise Pekin ducks for meat, because we actually did have some interest from a local restaurant.
Right.
But you guys, it was so labor intensive and frustrating.
It would take like an entire day to do like 10 ducks.
Whereas normally we can do 50 in a few hours.
Of chickens.
50 chickens in a few hours. Right. So, but it was because of that experience that we decided not to do that. And actually, in the end out there, we were able to get more money selling live ducks to the Asian community than like butchered ducks anyway.
Yeah.
So that worked out well for us. Okay. Are silkies worth eating?
I would say no.
I would say in general, no.
Right.
My plan with doing a few of these this time is to butcher them and put them like in the crock pot and then just take out all their meat.
Right.
Just to eat and then to make broth out of their their carcass.
But most of them, I mean, they don't. I bet they don't even have as much meat as a big quail. I mean, really.
We'll see.
Have you ever seen a wet silkie? they are nothing. They're puny.
Okay, we'll see though.
But
we'll see.
Some meat is better than no meat. So I mean, if we're going to process them, we're going to take what we can get off of them because we don't believe in just wasting it. But in general, no, I would not ever just go into raising silkies for meat.
Oh no, that would be terrible.
Right.
On the same lines, silky meat, is it dark? Because they are a chicken, it's going to be the same.
Right.
So the breast and the wing will be white meat, and the leg and thigh will be dark meat. But like quail, I mean, it's a good question because they're small birds, and quail have all dark meat.
Right.
So, but they should be the same. Honestly, this will be our first time butchering the silky, but I'm gathering that since they're a chicken, it will be the same.
Right.
Do you can or freeze your birds?
Yes. We do both.
We mostly freeze them.
But we do can some just because it's convenient to have.
It really is.
Some canned chicken.
I like the flavor of, frozen thawed chicken more than canned chicken because the canned chicken, it really does taste like the canned chicken from the grocery store.
Right.
And I don't really like that as much, but
it's convenient.
It is very, very convenient. In fact, for dinner tonight, we had a canned chicken on a Caesar salad.
Right.
So it's handy for those kinds of things. Are rabbits easier than chickens? Now let's just go meat chickens, not chickens in general.
They're easier to process, that's for sure. You don't need any special equipment. I mean, you don't really need special equipment for chickens either, but it sure makes it easier. But with rabbits, I mean, it's so fast and easy. I can process an entire litter of rabbits in probably 30 to 45 minutes, 8 to 12 rabbits. Where chickens definitely, I mean, by the time you set up a scalder and you set up a plucker and you've got your killing cones and all of that, it's a longer process. As far as the day-to-day stuff, I don't think it's any easier or harder. I mean,
I don't know. If you're talking about Cornish cross specifically, at the end with Cornish cross, they're labor intensive because they drink so much and they're so big and messy that you really need to move them twice if you're
by the time they're ready to butcher, you're ready to butcher them.
Right. And they're super messy. The rabbits, though, you can keep their manure and it's not hot. I mean, you can keep chicken manure too, but you have to compost it and that kind of thing.
Now, that is the downside, though, to raising rabbits in tractors.
True.
Is that it's harder to save their manure. So
it is.
When we have them in cages, that's when we will save their manure.
Right. Yeah. So what was our decision? Are rabbits easier or chickens?
Depends on the day.
Cornish cross are faster.
Right.
Sure. Cornish cross, you can get them to butcher weight at 7 to 8 weeks. Rabbits 10 to 12 weeks, but the American breasts are 16 weeks.
Right.
So I don't know.
That's
still a toss-up, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Do them both. It's worth it.
Are you still waiting to breed the rabbits? No. Actually, we're going to breed them tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've been putting it off because I want to film it for a special project. So I need to do that. Every day has gone by. I've said I need to do that. So I'm saying it out loud that I'm going to breed the rabbits tomorrow.
I'll hold her to it.
Question. Best place to find meat rabbit items starting up our own rabbitry. The hardest thing I have found, well, the hardest thing to find, in my opinion, are the bigger water bottles that we use.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get them everywhere. You can get smaller water bottles.
Well, and you can get some that are that shape, but they have a really big.
Yeah, like
they're made for dogs.
Yeah.
We actually, the ones we get though, we just ordered on Petco.com.
Yeah, Petco has those.
Right.
Otherwise, like the J feeders, you can get at your farm stores.
Right.
Some small cages you can get at farm stores. They're nesting boxes, the metal nesting boxes you can get at farm stores.
Right. Even like Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the cages, the brand cages that we like the best, and we're not affiliated with them at all. We've just had their cages for a long time. It's called KW Cages. I think you can order them online and they'll ship them, but their cages, they're just really well made. They use a higher quality metal, especially on the floor, and it seems to really hold up better over time.
Yeah, if you're going to buy cages off of somebody who makes cages, which, I mean, that's fine, and you can probably find a better price, make sure that they are using a heavy enough gauge on the floor.
Right.
Because if it's too thin, number one, there's a lot of bounce.
Right.
But if it's too thin, it can cut into their feet.
Right.
And that's the most important thing.
Right. Either way, they should have a board or something to get up on. But you do want the ones with the weak floors, they just wear out from them bouncing.
Around here, there are big rabbit farms that they raise rabbits for a company called Pelfrey's, and sometimes they stop doing that and then they sell like all of their equipment. So sometimes you can find really good deals at auctions or on Craigslist because people are getting out of the business.
Right.
And you can get like 10 cages and set up for next to nothing.
Yeah, I just saw some actually at an auction in Ava.
Did you?
Like the last one that went on, they had a big row of probably 50 cages.
Yeah.
Do you raise your ducks and geese with your
probably chickens
or separate?
Yeah, like do we separate them?
No, we don't. We do when they're babies, but no, they all live together. So in Wattlesville, we have our Pekin ducks, our American buff geese, our silky chickens, and our Polish chickens.
Yep.
Now they all go in their own. Well, the two breeds of chickens, the silkies and the Polish, they live in one hoop coop, and then overnight, and the ducks and geese both have their own hoop coop separate, so that overnight or if in the morning, because they wake up way before we get out there in the morning, and so we don't want them fighting.
Right.
But once they're out for the day, they all intermingle, and we've never had any problem with fighting or anything else.
Right. And the chickens at night, they go in their own coop. I mean, they know what to do.
Everybody knows their own house.
They do. Over time, they've just learned to go in their own house.
Right.
Now, I do want to say that it's a common concern about the ducks breeding the hens. And we've never had that happen. There are some people that have their ducks that try to breed their hens, their chicken hens. And that's never happened to us. Our geese don't try to breed the ducks and vice versa. That doesn't ever happen. For a while, we did have our ducks and geese together in one hoop coop. And we felt like the geese were picking on the ducks. So that's why we separated them into the two.
Right.
So, it was when the geese were laying. Then they got really aggressive and were not very nice to the ducks in the hoop coop. But other than that, they all get along really well.
Yeah.
That's pretty
They all, I mean, honestly, they all kind of segregate from each other all day long, other than when they're eating. So.
Yep.
What is the oldest chicken that you would process without it being tough?
That's going to depend on the breed.
It depends on the breed for sure. Like with the American breast, really after 16 weeks, they're going to start getting tougher. But honestly, any dual purpose chicken after about that age, once they're mature, then they're going to start getting tougher.
Right.
So the older they are, probably the tougher they're going to be. But, we've butchered chickens that are several years old just because we needed to downsize. And those you either put in the Instant Pot or you can or whatever, and they're just fine.
Right. So here's the thing. They're all edible.
Right.
It's just how you cook them.
Right.
And an old bird, like Kevin said, is good in the Instant Pot, in the crock pot. And those are the best birds to add into your chicken soup that you're canning chicken. And then save those bones and the skin and everything to make broth. Those are going to make the best tasting broth. Right. And then you can can that too. So it won't go to waste. You can figure out how to use it, and it's very good.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's do 5 more minutes of meat questions, and then we'll open it up to all questions.
Okay.
Do you process your meats, and is it difficult to learn? We process everything ourselves except for, well, we've never done a cow. We've never done beef. We have done our own pigs, although the last few years we have been taking the pigs to a butcher as well, mainly just for convenience and because really we don't really have the correct facilities for doing it, especially depending on the time of year. And, if it's cold enough to hang them outside, that's one thing. If it just happens to not be, then we have to quick figure out how to fit, 1 or 2 whole pigs in a refrigerator. So it really is nicer to take them. But other than that, we do everything ourselves. So we do our own rabbits, quail, chickens, turkeys, geese, ducks. When I get deer, we do our own deer. So it's just the really big things that we don't do ourselves. But I'm glad that we have the skills to do the pigs.
Yes.
Donkey. Have you tried donkey? LOL. You are looking at a man who still does not own a donkey, unfortunately.
Would you be getting a meat donkey?
Would that help?
Maybe.
Would that help if I told you it was a meat donkey?
Are we going to eat it?
Yes, but did you know that donkeys are not mature for meat until they're 48 years old? Little known fact that most people don't know. You have to have one for 48 years before you can eat it.
I don't think that the return on our investment is worth it.
I don't know. I think it is.
We're still not getting a donkey.
Have you tried to freeze dry meat? Yeah, we have. We freeze dried raw and we freeze dried cooked meat.
Yep.
And they're both good.
Yep.
I wouldn't say they're exactly the same as before you freeze dry them, but it's super cool.
I think if you're going to be adding them into something,
oh, sure.
Like if you're going to freeze dry ground like sausage or ground beef or something, and you're going to throw it in like spaghetti sauce, it's going to like rehydrate exactly perfectly. Same with chicken in a soup or a stew. It's going to be, and rabbit, it's going to be almost perfect. But just to rehydrate it to just eat like a steak or something, it's not quite as good, I guess. Not as quite as tasty. The texture isn't quite the same.
Right. But
yeah.
But it's super cool to be able to have like a steak sitting on the shelf for 25 years. So
yeah,
you might have to give up a little bit of quality, but you've got a steak.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and switch directions a little bit. We're going to give Rich and Shelley an opportunity to kind of switch over questions from meat animal questions to just some general questions. And so I want to just take a moment to tell you guys how much we have enjoyed these live streams.
Yeah.
We thought that live streams were not for us for 8 years. Plus, we didn't have good enough internet to do it. I mean, this one's fine. This internet is working, obviously. It's just something we haven't done. And it's been one of the favorite days or times of our week to get onto here and just chat with you guys.
Yeah. And once we get the new internet hooked up, I'm looking at ways that we can really extend it outside so that hopefully at some point we can do, live, like from the garden. Maybe we do a live harvesting video, or we do a live from somewhere else on the homestead. If you guys think that that's a good idea, let us know. But I think it would be cool to kind of do almost like live workshops if we can get it kind of up and working in that way. So
yeah, we'll have to figure out, kind of think through that and
right.
see how that's going to work. Yeah, so that's exciting. We are also open for suggestions on what you guys think would be fun.
Right.
Some creative things to do. Let's see if our wonderful friends have this going for us.
Let me scroll down.
Okay. Well, this is still meat rabbit related, but how soon do you breed back your rabbit does after kindling? Well, I go through 2 intensive times of breeding per year. I will breed intensively in the spring and then give my does the summer off, and then I'll breed extensively in the fall and then give them the winter off. Not only is that for the health of the does, but the kits don't grow as well in the summer because it's so hot, and a lot of them die in the winter when it's below 20. So when I am intensively breeding, I will breed my doe back once her kits are 2 weeks old. Okay, so she'll have her kits. I'll wait 2 weeks and breed her again. That will give her 2 weeks off, 1 to 2 weeks off after I wean the rabbits for her to kind of get ready to have her next litter. And so I'll generally will do that 2 or 3 times before I give her time off for the summer and for the winter. Yeah.
All right.
Do you have one that you were seeing?
Yeah, I'll do this. Kevin, how's your dad? Well, thank you for asking, first of all. Many of you know my dad had to have open heart surgery in May, which took, it made the first part of the summer kind of change directions a little bit. But he is recovering from that very, very well. He does have other health issues, most of which are related to his exposure to Agent Orange during the Vietnam War. So, he has things that, are going to come and go. But for the most part, he's doing well. They were over last night. Like you said, we celebrated Gavin's birthday and we all had a really good time. So in general, he's doing well. And, we appreciate all the prayers. I know we've got a lot of you out there that believe in prayer as much as we do. And we sure do thank you for all of the prayers for all of us. We sure all can use them all the time.
Have you ever water glassed eggs? Actually, this year is the first time I have ever water glassed eggs. I am hoping to get proficient enough to kind of teach that in videos probably next spring. We'll see how it goes. We have our first gallon of them waiting for winter for us to try. It's something that I've been worried about trying all these years, but I finally did it this year and we'll see how it goes. So far, so good.
Let's do this one.
Okay.
Do either of you have, or would you like to have, a fun hobby that you enjoy doing that's not related to homesteading? I'll go first, I guess. Yeah, I do a little bit of woodworking, nothing fancy for sure. And this last almost a year ago now, I bought a laser engraver for making like signs and stuff. And I've really been enjoying that. So that's been a fun kind of thing to play around with. I haven't had a whole lot of time over the summer months, so I'm hoping as we get into winter again that I'll be able to make some more stuff. And I did sell some of it on our Etsy shop last year, so watch out. You might see some of it on there.
And some of his laser stuff is actually at Rich and Shelley's shop, meat shop in town.
That's right.
Yeah, so you can take a look at a couple things there.
Right.
I think a hobby that I would like to get back into someday, and I have all the equipment to do that, would be pottery and some kind of 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional sculpture, which I love to do. And I don't know if I'll ever have the time and opportunity to do that again, but I would love to do that. Right. I think together, we have focused most of our married life on finding things that we like to do together,
right?
Because we think it's important to have common interests, common hobbies, things like that. That's why we are homesteading. That's why we're working together, and that kind of thing. So our favorite kind of hobby or time off activity would be fishing.
Right.
We do have a fishing boat. We don't get to go very often.
Right. Like a couple times a year.
But we really love to do that. Right. We do have a pond.
The good news is someday when we get to retirement age, whatever that means, I guess, I'll still have almost a brand new boat because I barely ever get to use it. So,
we do have a pond, but it's not in good enough shape right now to hold fish and to grow fish. But we'd like to work on that in the future.
Yeah, we're gonna at least figure out some pricing to maybe get it made a little bigger because I think it'd be really cool to have it be good enough. It needs to be dug out regardless of whether or not we get it made bigger, because the cattle have been in it for years and years. So we need to have it dug out, and then we'll keep the cattle out of it. But I think it'd be cool if we could get it to be made a little bit bigger so that when we have grandkids someday, I could teach them how to fish right here on the homestead.
Who gets to name the animals?
I'd say sometimes you, sometimes me,
Yeah.
sometimes you guys.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
helped name some of them.
I think it's just a matter of if you get a feeling.
Right.
I think in general, I get to name all of the dairy cows.
Yeah.
But calves not necessarily. I don't know. And this last go round, we haven't even named our pigs.
No, we haven't.
It just didn't come to us.
Well, and when we raise them just as feeders, you don't bond with them the same way you did when we had the breeding pigs.
Mhm.
They weren't here all the time. But yeah. What do you do with the remnants?
What do you do with the remnants of the animals you butcher?
To be honest, we either usually bury them in the bottom of a compost pile, or a lot of times we just take them back into the woods and let nature take its course.
Yep.
Coyotes and
The
vultures and everything else, they just kind of take care of them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we have enough land and we're far enough out in the country that there's no regulations about doing any of that. So.
Yeah. Are you happy you converted your medium freeze dryer to the 5 tray capacity rather than the 4? Yeah. We haven't had any problems with that at all. It has decreased the amount of kind of like head space above the trays, but I haven't felt like that has held me back at all. I enjoy having the extra room for one more tray. I can fit more in there during the busy times of the harvest season. So it's been good.
Yeah.
It's been good.
I think we've used it way more this year than we have in previous years.
Right. We did a question. I don't know if that came through a video or something. There was a question like, what did we do with the 4 tray insert? We just have it in storage in case something ever happens to the 5 tray insert. Then we're not, out of luck. We could just put it back in there and still use it until, we get a replacement.
If there was a time we need more headspace, we could put it back in because it's really easy to switch in and out.
It just clicks in.
Right.
Yeah, it's super easy. Let's see. When do you plan next year's garden plan?
Soon. We try to take notes at the end of like we're taking notes kind of right now to have a better idea for next year. Probably after the first of the year, though, is when we really start trying to figure out exactly what we're going to be doing so we can get seeds ordered.
Yeah.
Now, we already have a lot of the seeds that we need, especially like tomatoes and peppers and stuff. But there's always those last minute things. And then normally by like April, we can go to the Amish nursery that's in our area, get a few things that we either, if there's things that we only need like 1 or 2 of, it's not really worth starting them ourselves. So then we'll go and we'll buy them from the Amish nursery. So after the first of the year is when we really start really planning it out.
This has been a question that's been coming up a lot in videos. Do you still plan on growing and processing your stevia? How do you process it? Thanks. So last year I grew stevia and it grew so much and I freeze dried like all the leaves, the extra leaves and stuff. And I still have so much of it that I didn't need to plant this year. And I probably won't need to plant next year either. It was very, very prolific. I also did make stevia drops, like an extract that I have used. Now, I'll be honest that the drops that I made are not as good as the ones I can buy from the store. So I do prefer to use the ones from the store.
They just didn't turn out as strong. Like they're not as sweet.
And
right?
they taste a little earthy. The ones from Azure that I get, they have 0 flavor. It's just sweet. Right. The ones from home, they have kind of an earthy kind of plant flavor. So I would say that I am going to keep all the stevia that I freeze dried in case I need it. And I'm also going to continue raising stevia here and there to make sure that I have the seeds. It would be amazing if I did not have access to my sweetener from Azure to continue having it. And so that I still don't have to rely on sugar and other sweetener from the store, which we don't eat. So anyway, That was a really long answer to that question. How do you process it? I made an extract, and actually you can find that video on our YouTube channel. You find one you like?
Kevin, what does your t-shirt say? It says less 1984, more 1776. That's what it says.
Have you or do you have an egg stand and sell eggs or other stuff on your property? We've never had like a stand on our
Not on this
property.
property. We did in Arizona.
Yeah, we did in Arizona. That was fun. We haven't here. We have sold eggs and produce and
Right.
soap and all kinds of things at the farmers market.
Right. Our property is not near town at all, and it's not on a property or on a road that is well traveled.
Mm-hmm.
So having, I mean, like people would need to go pretty far out of their way to come out here. So I just don't think that it's, and we do have some privacy issues. So
right.
But really it comes down to the fact that we're not in a convenient location.
Right.
So
and I'm not sure that people would be honest. Right. I think there are people that, other people, other content creators have had problems with people stealing their product.
Yeah, I think Jason from Coghill Farm
or stealing the money box and that kind of thing. So where our house is now on this property, we cannot oversee what's going on if we had a little farm stand.
Right. We have a long driveway. So,
mm-hmm. So it just wouldn't, it's just,
right.
It's just not something that would work well for us.
Right.
Other than pickling, what do you do with your excess chicken and quail eggs? Well, our excess chicken eggs, we supply our entire extended family with eggs. So Kevin's mom eats a lot of eggs. Bless her heart, she eats them every single day. And Grace and Gavin, we supply them with eggs. Right. So, but the quail eggs, we have recently discovered that we love
smoked. Although we're not raising quail right now, so
correct.
So we don't have quail eggs at the moment.
Correct. But smoked silky eggs would be good too.
Yeah,
because they're a nice small egg.
Yeah, and I did a video about that. If you want to learn how to smoke them, they're
absolutely.
Really good. What jobs did you leave in corporate America? Do you ever miss it? Well, I'll answer the last part of that question first. No. So I was in sales for quite a long time. First, I was in dental and medical sales. And then for about the last 7 years before we moved, I was in, I worked for a company where we sold firearm simulators for military and law enforcement training. And we worked with a lot with the federal agencies, a lot of the bigger police departments. And I was in sales for that as well.
Yep. And I was in human resources. I was a executive in human resources for two different companies over the course of 15 years or something like that. Yeah. And no, I don't miss it.
Right. At the end of our careers, we worked for the same company.
Yep. So we did.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that set us up to work together now full time.
Right.
So
do you ever grow eggplant?
Oh, eggplant.
I love to grow eggplant.
Yeah, the problem is neither of us like eggplant.
I've made eggplant so many ways, and we just don't like eggplant, but I'm really good at growing it, but I just don't grow it anymore.
I'll tell you a story. When we first started homesteading about 15 years ago, we decided that we were going to, we did not have a very diverse eating repertoire. Like we grew up very Midwestern, right? Yes. Very meat, eggs, potatoes. I mean, it was not, we didn't have a big, so we decided we were going to try one new vegetable every single week for as long as it took to basically try everything they had at the store. And eggplant obviously was one of them. And I think from that time on, we have probably tried eggplant 30 different times where we're we'd see a recipe. We're well, maybe we'll like it like this. Well, maybe We've tried so many different recipes with eggplant, and we've never found one we like. So
there's one that we could like gag it down, but it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because they are fun to grow, actually. Do you raise worms for the castings? You know, we don't. I have looked into it so many times, and I feel like it's something we probably will do at some point. We raised mealworms for a while, but we've never raised like the red wigglers or things like that. I would like to, but it's just something we've never done.
Let's see. Have you ever made cream cheese? I have made cream cheese, but I've never made it as good as you can get at the store. Darn it. I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
The thing is, Kevin doesn't eat cream cheese. He will not eat cream cheese. He will not eat anything that has cream cheese in it.
Or sour cream.
Or sour cream or mayonnaise or any of those kinds of things. Yeah. So I'm kind of on my own. Like not even cheesecake. The guy won't eat cheesecake. Like the best thing on the planet won't eat cheesecake.
In general, I'm not a condiment person. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. None of that stuff. It all sounds terrible to me. But I'm glad other people like it.
Yeah. So I have tried it, but I don't have a huge desire to master it because I'm the only one eating it.
Right.
So that's that.
What is y'all's focus on the homestead during the winter months? Well, I wish I could say that it's getting a lot of extra rest, but
we are always like, oh, fall and winter are coming.
Right, we can slow down.
Oh, it'll be so nice. We can read and we can like learn things and study up and do all kinds of rest kinds of things.
Right.
No.
And then we realized that, like I said earlier, here in Missouri, there's a lot of outdoor things we need to get done in the winter because there's no ticks and there's no chiggers during that time of year. And so there's a lot that we need to get done during the winter. And it's just a time of year like this year, we decided we're not going to grow in the greenhouse over winter. So this winter, our plan is to take everything out of the greenhouse.
Don't spoil the beans. Don't spill the beans.
So we got a lot of work to do in the greenhouse this winter, and we'll bring you guys along for that. But
yeah, so it's actually a really busy time for us when it's in between ice storms and rain and things like that. We just have projects we get done. So yeah,
we got time for one or two more.
Okay.
When you moved from Arizona, how did you find community off the homestead?
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard initially because, now we're talking almost 9 years ago. And this homesteading thing wasn't well known or popular yet at that time. It's grown a lot. Like the homesteading community and the whole homesteading idea has really grown and expanded over the last 9 years. And so it was kind of lonely, actually.
What I can tell you is when we first moved out here and we would talk to people who just lived here, like locals, and they would ask why we're here, basically, like, why'd you move here? We'd say to homestead.
Yeah, we're going to be homesteading.
They looked at us like we had three heads.
Yeah, they had no idea.
They had no idea what we were talking about. So we'd have to kind of explain, and they'd be like, oh, you mean farm? Yes, farm, but in our own way, kind of.
Right. Well, also the definition of farming has changed as homesteading has become more popular. The definition of farming has kind of changed. Like now, in general populations, if you talk about farming, people are thinking about like monoculture, row crops, all corn, all soybeans, or like hundreds of heads of dairy cows and that kind of thing. So
but out here, that's not really the case. Like out here, everybody farms.
Yeah.
Like if you talk to people, they'll be like, I work in town, but I also farm. And what they're really talking about is like out here, normally raising cattle.
Yeah, beef cattle.
But it might only be 10 head of cattle, and they still consider that farming. So out here, we don't have the gigantic farms that you see like in Illinois and
Yeah.
Wisconsin and Iowa and places like that.
So finding community was hard for us at first. I think initially we found community at the farmers market,
Right.
and started to make some connections there. But it was kind of lonely at first.
Right.
Then over time, we started going to a Bible study,
Right.
which turned into the church that we now go to.
Right.
Has expanded and it's growing. It's just so crazy. It's
Right.
such a blessing. And actually over time, like somehow God has brought all these like transplants from different states and things, and most of which are homesteaders.
Right.
So
And they all come to our church.
yeah,
which
it's
is
been
great.
amazing. So I've never felt as much community as I
Right.
have over the last couple of years as the church has grown and things
Right.
like that. So farmers market first, and then we were able to find community in our church.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there you go, you guys. That is the final question for the night. Thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate all of you. I know that, that can sound kind of cliche, but we really do. And like Sarah said earlier, we are enjoying these live streams way more than we ever imagined that we would. We look forward to them. It's a fun time to just get together and chat. I thought it would be really strange having it kind of be one-sided, but I really enjoy getting these questions every week and kind of reminiscing about some of the past things that we've done.
Yeah, we hope that you guys are enjoying it too. And as far as we know, we're just going to continue doing this.
Right.
Because we do enjoy it.
Yeah. And if there are certain things that you would like to see, like I said earlier, like, at some point, maybe a live outside or maybe a live cooking video or something like that, let us know. We're open to suggestions, but otherwise, we just enjoy this as well.
Yeah.
So, all right, you guys, we'll see you Wednesdays. Next video coming out.
Yep.
We'll see you. Well, you'll see us then,
Yeah.
and we'll see you guys next Monday.
Yeah. So take care, guys, and God bless.
God bless.